It's an absolute disaster.
Here's what pisses me off, right?
It's a matter of, do they sack the manager now or do they let him run out his campaign? I don't know why Harry doesn't like the international break.
Hello, welcome back to Just Another Football Podcast. This is the international break, and we found things to talk about. Fergal and George are with me today. Fergal, I'm sorry we have to start with you. We're gonna have to talk about Ireland losing all hope of qualifying for the Euros in Germany next summer, and then we'll get to some of England, George's nation, and the US, my country. But yeah, it's very random. But Fergal, you were at the Aviva. You took the lead. You had hope. You lost it.
So much hope. Yeah. I you know what else I've just realised? Like, this is me and you's little passion project, the international breaks.
Yeah.
Like,
Harry went on the WhatsApp group. He's like, you know what I feel about international.
yeah, Harry. I was like,
breaks.
I'm surprised he just didn't leave us on red, to be honest.
Yeah.
But he had the decency of replying to us. So yeah, I was at the Aviva and we took the lead. Great start. It was a wee bit lucky, the penalty, but the team were like pressing really high, and it's funny though. It's obviously my bias being there. The atmosphere was incredible. Taking the lead against the Netherlands, like the whole place just erupted. Shout out to the Netherlands fans, by the way. They came over in numbers and all their big colours. Some of them, the way they dress up. There was a family dressed up in the Flintstones costumes, because the Flintstones are also like orange. You know, that sort of like.
Yeah.
So like they've done all that, and like there was thousands of them like in a street, I think, all dancing at some point. I didn't actually see it in person, but I saw a video of it.
Yeah.
And then in the stadium they're actually pretty good as well. But they like the start of the game, everybody's like, the Irish fans always get right behind the team from the get go, especially when it's a big game, and they build the atmosphere really well. Like in terms of like the music they choose and reading out the teams and all. So it was probably like going, and then great start, putting them under pressure like a good Jack Charlton team.
Nice.
And then got the corner. Van Dijk handball, got the penalty. Ida scored it. It was great to see Ida. The past two games has actually been really good. Good hold up play against some tough centre backs, and at times he was winning the battles. And coming up with the ball. He's come on a lot. It's just maybe his goal scoring that's an issue, but he took his penalty very well. And then we kept at them and and Van Dijk looked a bit shaky. Their goalkeeper Flecken looked a bit shaky. Van Dijk got away with one where Ida pressed him. I still haven't seen it back, but Ida pressed him and got the ball from him, and then the referee gave a foul. But it kind of just looked like Van Dijk sort of lost his foot, and then Anita was in there, and maybe that could have been a goal. But got a lot of joy out of pressing and win the ball really close to their box. There's one chance of Bennett could have maybe scored. Bennett plays for Luton, just as a reminder. So I'm going to be talking about these players, and most people don't know who they are.
Yeah.
So yeah, Bennett done really well. And then with the press comes the other side of it, the risk of them getting in behind, and that's what they did. Annoyingly, it was more down to poor execution of an offside trap rather than our tactics getting the better of us. It was the lack of execution of it. The defensive line looked like a zigzag, which
I know
was
that
really
stuff. It's like Liverpool 2021 when they tried to play offside traps with Henderson and Fabinho playing centre backs.
So yeah, Duffy dropped off, as Duffy does. Egan pressed, and then I think it might have been McLean was left back then. Yeah, it would have been. And Denzel Dumfries shot up like a rocket and took advantage of that,
He's
knocked it past
right.
Bazunu, and then
Mm.
Bazunu gave away a penalty. But again, I wouldn't have really blamed Bazunu for that. He could have maybe tried to get out of the way of it, because I don't think Dumfries um would have kept the ball. It probably would have went out if he just let it go. But it's one of those ones you have to go for. And then Bazunu got a fingertip to the penalty. Um, and so you're like, oh, nearly there. But we do all right in that first half, and then go into the second half, and I think there was maybe 2 or 3 changes made by Ron Koeman. Took off Daily Blind, took off this centre mid. He was like I can't remember his name, because it's like with X or something like that. It sounded like a cleaning brand or something, and he like sounds like some good
What?
bleach. Um, and
Wait, I want to see what you're talking about.
he started centre mid
FIFA?
for yeah,
FIFA. There you go.
maybe not then.
Place for Feyenoord.
And he was taken off, and then but the big one was Veghorst came on,
Mhm.
um, and but start of the second half, it was like a completely different team. Ireland sort of sat off them then a bit, but then too much. And then De Jong really started to get things ticking and popping it about, and we were pinned back into our box, and then De Jong played a ball over the top again to Dumfries, and again it was Duffy who was a yard deeper than everybody else. Played Dumfries on, and then Dumfries just passed it across for Veghorst to nip in at the front post ahead of Duffy. So it really wasn't a good night for Duffy.
Mm.
After that, there really wasn't much to say. That they gave it a go. There was changes made, maybe a bit too late, but um, there's some positives to take away. Jason Knight, who's at Bristol City now, he looked brilliant. He was turning players. He was great in the half turning, and really good at progressing the ball at the pitch, taking it in tight spaces, and managing to play out. Um, and it's a real shame for him that he didn't get a move whenever Derby got relegated, and he was last season he was in League One, but you're looking at him every time he's played for Ireland and go, he's a lot better than League One, and like he's putting up against a good Netherlands side, and um coming out with the ball a lot of the time. So I'm surprised he
Mhm.
had. I mean, I think he was linked to Leeds for a bit. I'm surprised no other Premier League club was interested with him. But I think he's got a good start to Bristol City.
To be fair, when you're
But
playing in League One, I don't like Premier League clubs don't like look at you straight away. I don't think, or
no,
might be afraid
this is
of the risk.
whenever he was when it was more at the end of the championship season, I thought he might have got a move then, but not
Mm.
to be. But yeah.
Yeah,
But
okay, I see what I
so,
mean.
I haven't really talked about the France game, but shock, we lost 2-0 to France. And it wasn't much to say about that game. It kind of went as you'd expect it.
Yeah.
But the main takeaway is, I think Ireland are going to be looking for a new manager fairly soon. It's a matter of, do they sack the manager now, or do they let him run out his European campaign with the
Mm.
potential of a playoff, which is determined by completely out of our hands, because we didn't do well in the Nations League, and it just depends on what teams ahead of us in the Nations League ranking automatically qualify, or not automatically qualify through the actual qualifiers.
Mhm.
And will a playoff place be left for us?
Mhm.
I think we're constant. There's like a Twitter profile that does the predictions of it based on like probability, and we're constantly like, one game week we're in this playoff, the last playoff position. The next week we're just out of it, and I think based off the last run of results, we are out of it at the moment. So it's really disappointing, but at the same time, you're like, it's hard to say like, if another manager's in, would we have done any better? Like, a lot of the players are young, and in the championship, and
Yeah.
Evan Ferguson's only just coming through, and he was injured for both games. And
Yep.
just to clarify, Evan Ferguson cannot play for England officially. He's played the ruling. I didn't realize this, but I read an Athletico article.
Oh.
The new ruling is if you've played more than 3 games for your national team, that's any games,
Right.
competitive,
Oh.
non-competitive. So
Interesting.
he's
But then
played
it's well,
he's played 6 games in total,
mm.
and therefore
Interesting.
is eligible for Ireland. Not that
I
it was
didn't
ever
know
in
this.
doubt.
Am I
But
right in thinking? Am I right in thinking it's then like 5 years of not playing for a country or something
yeah,
like
something like
that?
that.
Then you'd qualify. It's a
Yeah.
pretty tough group as well for Ireland, isn't it? I mean, it's not exactly
But
a
yeah,
walk in the park.
it is. It is, but you can't use that to defend the manager because the grouping and the seeding was decided based on your finish in the Nations League.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
in the Nations League, we had Scotland and Ukraine, which again I suppose is relatively difficult.
You beat Scotland
Scotland as
3-0 in
well
that
have
one,
gone
right?
up. Yeah, that was God. That feels like a lifetime ago. That was great.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, we didn't do well enough in the end in that as well, and then that affected that basically meant that we got 2 hard teams as opposed to we could have been a second seed team
Yeah.
and just got France, and
Yeah.
and you give yourself a hell of a lot more of a chance.
Hmm.
But again, you might, and the other point is, from an outsider, you might go, well, fuck, it's a bit harsh. You know, you've got Netherlands and France. Why sack them after these 2 games? Well,
Yeah.
the damage was done actually in the previous round of fixtures when we lost to Greece away. And this is like, these round of fixtures are like, well, you know, can you make up for that previous loss by getting a win against either France or the Netherlands? And it hasn't worked out
Mm.
that way. So Stephen Kenny, I think it's really difficult to pick the next manager because you don't want to sack Stephen Kenny because he's got all the best intentions and he's blooding through youngsters and trying to play the right way. And I don't want any of that to change with the next manager we bring in. Um, so we have to choose that manager carefully, but it's slim pickings. Lee Carsley, the England under-21s manager, former Irish international, is the current favourite, and I'd be pretty happy with that. Anthony Barry is another one that's mentioned, who's assistant manager under Tuchel at Chelsea and is now with him also at Bayern Munich. He was an assistant manager with Ireland, and then he
Hmm.
swapped to Belgium. So um, I think he also might have been interviewed for like one of the Barnsley jobs. So that's the sort of level of manager we're looking at. We're looking at like a upper mid table championship manager is sort of what we're aiming to get. But probably not so high up that they be like looking to get promoted from the championship. Like we couldn't get any team that's doing what like Kieran McKenna, the Ipswich manager.
Mm.
Hmm.
I think he's Irish or Irish relations. And he's another one that's been sort of mentioned, but there's no way he's going to leave it the chance of getting to the Premier
No.
League for Ireland at the moment. The only thing we have going for us is that if you're an up and coming manager, you have the chance to work with Evan Ferguson and a couple of the other good youngsters we have coming through.
Yeah.
And if you did do well with Ireland, one, you'd be a legend in Ireland. That's quite a nice thing. And then two,
Yeah, I suppose.
it would boost your profile to if you
Yeah.
got Ireland, if you got Ireland to win a round of 16 game at a major tournament. That would be like that would probably get you a really good job somewhere. Um, so we're kind of in this awkward spot. And the FAI don't have an awful lot of money to throw at whoever they're going to go for.
Mm.
So yeah, Roy Keane I think might be fourth or fifth favorite, which kind of tells you where we are.
Yeah, that's I wouldn't want him if I were you. Um.
Mm.
All right. Well, heartbreak for Ireland. But at least you have Evan Ferguson. and it's confirmed he's playing for Ireland now. I was not aware of
as
the.
long as he stays fit.
Wow.
Yeah, as long as he stays fit. True. Yeah, but look, very tough group. Obviously, France and the Netherlands were always going to make it, but as you said, it was the opportunity because the Netherlands are in a really bad spot right now. I feel like they're in one of their lower periods, and the managerial appointments, they keep going through this revolving door of managers that ultimately leave. And right now it's Ronald Koeman, Ronald Koeman isn't great. But maybe there was an opportunity there, but it is the Netherlands, right? So, yeah. Moving on though.
In fairness to the Netherlands, they've got 6 points from 6 this international window.
Yeah, that's true.
And they put away Greece, who would have been since Ireland have been so bad, that would have been the only other team that would have had a chance of beating them to that second spot. So they're safe from pretty much, and they should get over the line.
Pretty much confirmed, right?
But in the Dutch typical way, they're probably not happy with the way they're playing.
Oh yeah, they're not. Now England, in a much more comfortable spot. Haven't lost the qualification game in 35 years or whatever it is. But they drew a game, and it's a disaster, right, George?
It's an absolute disaster, and not necessarily. It's a catastrophe, and not necessarily. Obviously, like you say, we're all. I think we actually might be guaranteed through, but all but guaranteed through.
You are, yeah, you are. Come on.
It is a disaster, though. It's a disaster for English football, and the reason why is more so to do with the general culture and the general feeling around England, which I feel is slipping slowly towards 2016 and before, Sam Allardyce, Roy Hodgson era, where unfortunately it seems, despite Gareth Southgate, very early on, 2017, he did, the big sort of conference with, I think, the Daily Telegraph or whatever it might be, saying, I'm never going to pick people on reputation. It's always going to be on form and what you can, contribute to a side. In the game against Ukraine, we had Jordan Henderson, who plays outside of the top 6 leagues, probably outside maybe depending on your thoughts, maybe outside the top 10 league in the world, and Harry Maguire, who's not played a competitive game. Well, we not played particularly well in a competitive game in, I would say, probably 2 years, bar his England performances. So it's really concerning because, yes, the argument is you need a bit of experience, you need solid players. I completely disagree. I think you've got players on that team that have been to tournaments that don't need their hand held by players like Harry Maguire and Jordan Henderson anymore. And then the other argument was the injuries to obviously John Stones and etc. But you look at the players that he's left out that quite frankly have played extremely well in the start of the season. James Ward-Prowse played for England before. It's not exactly a young player left out for Jordan Henderson.
Yeah, you can find a good reason for James Ward-Prowse to be left out, or for Jordan Henderson to be included for that matter. But it's bizarre, this.
Just as a tool for set pieces, I mean, at the very least, as a squad number, and then Phillips.
If we're gonna pick Maguire, why not have somebody who can put it on his big slab head?
Yeah, exactly.
True.
If you're gonna have the tools, but and then obviously people like even like Ben White, Adam Webster, Rico Henry. We only had one recognised left back in Chilwell. I believe we had Colwell who can play there, but not convincingly. Trippier, but then why not drop Maguire and bring in a recognised fullback in Henry or whoever it might be. Solly March, great start to the season, admitted.
Yeah, but who are you going to bring in for Solly March, to be fair?
Well, you could drop Phillips, you could drop Hendo. You've got Rice. you don't need someone next to Rice. He's proven that at Arsenal. You don't need a double pivot anymore. If you wanted to play that, James Ward-Prowse is effective. You could even play Conor Gallagher. I don't think his name should be in the running, but at the very least, he's played there this season. He's played games. Whether
it is a little bit slim pickings in the DM, but I would not have picked Kalvin Phillips either. The man hasn't played football this season at all.
It's criminal. I get
who are the other options ahead of him?
Well, you'd say James Ward-Prowse. You'd say
not at the end though.
Yeah, but so obviously Rice is. But you can play James Ward-Prowse in a double pivot with Rice. You don't. For example, Ireland aren't gonna change their 11. We've only got one European Euro qualifiers, so we only need one game where we play a really strong 11. If we lose to Scotland, okay, we lose to Scotland. At least we've brought through players who don't have England caps that could, go on. You could even do Rico Lewis from Man City and put him in, a defensive. Well, it's better than Phillips, who literally hasn't played.
I don't know if it is. I get all the other points, but Phillips, I think he might not want it, but I do. I can't think of anybody else that is like an actual DM that can.
To be fair, Fergal, England played.
Hit me with a name.
Well, England played Rice, Henderson, Bellingham to start. Mm-hmm. If England had played Rice, James Ward-Prowse, Bellingham, would that have? Or if they played a 4-2-3-1,
but you're not. My point is, you're not swapping in that way. You're not swapping. You're swapping
Rice,
Ward-Prowse for Henderson.
Yes.
I'm talking about a backup for Rice, someone that's not going to start.
Yeah, it's quite tricky.
There's no other DMs. I get why people would pick on Kalvin Phillips, but in fairness, I just don't see. I can't think of another. If there's another defensive mid out there that warrants to be in there as the second choice defensive midfielder if Rice got injured, I'm struggling to think of another one. You kind of have to change the system a little bit to accommodate some of the other names you have mentioned.
Yeah.
Like you put Conor Gallagher in that, but we're not entirely convinced that Chelsea.
But he's playing.
He is.
He's at least played football.
He's played football this year, and I think the other thing that I'm not necessarily annoyed with the selections because of the results that may happen, on the back of them. I'm annoyed because it's gone back to this. Like the media have an excuse to go after this England team again. Like that was protected. That didn't happen before. Southgate.
That's the most impressive thing that Southgate did.
Exactly
get the media on side, and it's been such a powerful thing for this England team to not have that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like he's kind of thrown that away, and he's got the intelligence to realise that this was always going to be the talking points. The talking points were always going to be, why have you selected people that haven't played football? And I don't think there's any excuse for it in terms of keeping a culture that is a meritocracy, even if it isn't. Perceived meritocracy from the outside, young players as well, fresh blood. That was what was exciting about the England team that Southgate was bringing through in terms of, the Saka, Mount. I mean, you could even argue, when he was trying to bring through sort of Ruben Loftus-Cheek and Lingard and whatnot early on in 2017 and whatnot.
Was it right? No, who's the player in midfield that got a random call up? Wasn't Routledge? It was like
Jake Livermore.
Livermore.
I remember this like it was yesterday. I remember seeing Jake Livermore's name there, and I said,
Jake Livermore is still probably third choice DM.
Yeah,
there you go.
Bring him in.
Although what I would add, this might be a little bit too out there, but what I would ask is if England don't have any options in DM apart from Rice, Henderson, and Kalvin Phillips. Rice isn't exactly a DM you want him as more of an off-the-ball midfielder. We're speaking about Conor Gallagher there. He's also a similar type to Rice in terms of being off the ball, better as a box-to-box. Is that like a player development problem then? Like, is there a problem with developing?
Well, I think we need to look at the Irish,
defensively?
the Irish team again in the Irish League youth team and see if we can pick a number from there.
Well,
Right,
you can
perhaps.
have Cullen if you want. It's the one position we're craving out for. Is somebody that can connect the midfield or the defense and attack. So you can have Cullen is English as well, so
Yeah.
we can
Get him in.
do a swap deal.
Yeah.
We'll take Bellingham since he was photographed in that Ireland jersey.
Makes him Ireland eligible, does it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It might be. I mean, we've got a lot of attacking midfielders that everyone wants to be an attacking midfielder.
Yeah, so many attacking mids and there's so few.
You look at that.
Weird.
You look at that team though that he played. Like with Bellingham and Rice, there's no need for Henderson to be there.
No, there's absolutely no need.
Henderson makes me laugh,
it's not like Bellingham is like a luxury sort of attacking player.
Yeah.
It's so defensive, and like when you've got someone like Phil Foden who's had a great start to the season, like just even within the players that he has picked, to not play them against Ukraine when you've pretty much qualified already. It's I like that would be so frustrating. Yeah, like he's played Maddison sort of out of position by the looks of it as well. Like, yeah. There's so many things that like just don't add up, and the saddest thing for him is that he does seem to be doing all his good work, undoing it all.
Yeah.
And it's like you're not quite sure. It's like you're sort of going against some of the principles that he set up as well. Like he was all sort of, he was so good about with all the racial incidents that happened, and he spoke so well about that. And then with the Saudi league, he's sort of turned a blind eye to all the issues with that. Mainly because a player that he likes has gone there. And so there's all these things that, like, it's not just maybe the footballing decisions, but the principles of who gets in the squad and how this English team presents itself. It's not what it was.
Yeah. Henderson spoke to the Athletic about, he thought going to the Saudi League would be an exciting thing, and how he went there because he didn't feel wanted in Liverpool anymore. Although what was told to him in Liverpool wasn't exactly you're not going to play anymore. It's like you're going to just be a rotation option. He's 33.
Yeah,
that happens.
Right.
Like when you get older, your form dips. Like that's what happens to any footballer that's on a normal level of fitness. And it's like I just find it incredibly egotistical from Henderson to assume that going to the Saudi League won't will be in any way good for his career at a top level.
Ali, we can talk around it all we want, and I don't blame him. It's the money. It's a ridiculous amount of money.
It is.
And he has to come out like all the live golfers did. They have to come out and try and come up with another reason as to why they've gone and done it. But it's down to the money, and I can't say I'm much of a better person than Jordan Henderson. If that money was offered, I probably would go.
A rival podcast.
Yeah. Just another Saudi League podcast wants to come in. I'm here, boys.
I don't know, man. Well, he said in the same article that it wasn't about the money, but who are we kidding?
I'm sure he's going to say that. He'll always. That's what I mean. Like they can't come out and for the Saudi League's reputation as well. The Saudi League don't want these players to come out and go, well, it was all about the money. The money was ridiculous. I couldn't say no.
Kalvin was brave enough to do it.
Was he?
Yes.
Oh, was he?
As soon as he transferred. First thing we heard from him is, I'm doing this for the money. Nobody's doing it for the passion. But he's using his money well. You know what? He's using his money well. He's using it to develop his neighborhood in Senegal. All power to him. He's a Muslim too. He's found a good spot to go. It's it's close to the two holy sites there. He can, perform as a Muslim. That I resonate with this too, and that's why I think Mohamed Salah will go to the Saudi League. It's gonna happen, because
that was
yeah.
mental, by the way. Just very brief. Why did they leave it so late?
Because PIF own Newcastle, so PIF want Newcastle to they'll do what is in the best interest of Newcastle to win the league. So if you leave it so late, while we're outside the transfer window, they thought there's a viable chance of Liverpool taking the money at the last second.
And then
that will weaken them significantly. Exactly.
That makes sense.
Obviously, foolish to assume so.
The other theory I had, I thought it might be a bit like the Neymar transfer, in that they wanted to raise the ceiling of transfer fees again. That was because that was one of the things they talked about when the Neymar transfer. It wasn't just about getting back at Barcelona. It was also about pricing out a lot of other teams, and if they knew that they set the new transfer record,
true.
like broke the ceiling on it completely, then it would raise the floor of a lot of transfers and price out a lot of clubs.
Man, this is such a sad podcast, isn't it? Because the third topic of the day is about the US men's national team and how much of a joke it is right now.
You got a new manager, don't you?
Do we have a new manager? There was a long, detailed managerial search for the United States men's national team's role after the controversial events of the beginning of the summer, when Gregg Berhalter, or not the beginning of the summer, this has been happening since the end of the World Cup. The fallout between Gregg Berhalter, at the time the US men's national team manager, and the Reynas, Claudia Reyna, his wife, and Gio, obviously, who didn't get much playing time in the tournament because of supposed lack of effort in training. Blah, 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 blah. Psych. Gregg is the manager. Gregg is back, and he has already managed his first game back. So here's what pisses me off, right? We brought in a sporting director, Matt Crocker, who was at Southampton before, to lead a managerial search.
Is that the guy that sort of has overseen this, the Southampton that didn't quite live up to what they were hoping to? Is it that sporting director, like the one that all the fans were kind of annoyed with about their choices and signings?
I believe it is.
Right. Okay.
But anyway, he leads the process of searching for a new manager. He does detailed interviews. And then in the meantime, January through June, we go through 3 cycles, 3 international breaks of that were led by 2 different managers. Anthony Hudson, who was the assistant manager and also had an entirely underwhelming career with the Colorado Rapids, and BJ Callahan, who was assistant manager at Philadelphia Union, my Philadelphia Union, and actually did a pretty good job. Won the Nations League, did okay in the CONCACAF Gold Cup, which is like the Euros in North America. But we took the Nations League more seriously and played the A team there. And then we went with a team that will never see the US men's national team shirt ever again in the Gold Cup, and went out in the quarterfinal.
Why?
Why is that? I have no idea. In the start of the summer, we had the semifinal and final, which we won.
What's the difference?
Difference between what and what? Nations League and Gold Cup?
Yeah. It sounds like 2 tournaments.
I have no idea.
Both group stages and knockouts.
Yeah, we had... the Nations League is played over a prolonged period of time to replace friendlies. Just like Europe.
All right, so it's like... okay.
It's yeah. And then the Gold Cup is the actual tournament. That happened 3 weeks after the Nations League. But we played a team of just randomers and went out to Panama in a penalty shootout. in the quarterfinal.
This is making me feel so much better, Ali.
Yeah.
This sounds
Yeah,
like an
yeah.
absolute mess.
Yeah.
There you go.
What on
CONCACAF.
earth is going on in CONCACAF?
CONCACAF.
Jesus Christ. Right.
There's also the thing with CONCACAF that happened recently is like the Leagues Cup and the Champions League, which is also a pretty mental thing.
That's the club tournaments, is it?
Oh, I'm not going to go into it, but the Leagues Cup is something that like took a month, and we took a break from MLS, and it was only between English and Mexican teams, and it's bizarre. But I'm not going to go into that. What I'm going to go into is the game against Uzbekistan. It was so boring that I watched a bit of the first half, and I was like, this is not worth my time. Just going to shut the TV down and go to the gym. And I did. And then I found out later we actually only led 1-0 until the 92nd minute. Ricardo Pepi, not taken to the World Cup, scored in added time, and then Christian Pulisic scored a penalty the 95th. Now, aside from the performance or selection or whatever the frick Gregg Berhalter was doing, the game was played in St. Louis. St. Louis supposedly has like a really big percentage of the U.S. men's national team players throughout its history, and the media and the U.S. men's national teams and like U.S. soccer social media pages and stuff like that were all saying, "Oh, the soccer capital of the United States, St. Louis." It was played in St. Louis City FC's stadium, City Park, really good stadium. They create a good atmosphere. The team there is doing really well. It's in its inaugural year. That's really easy for me to say. And it has a stadium that holds 25,000. There were at most 12,000 there. At most. For a game that featured a Sunday evening game that featured the A team, like the regulars. The game day sale of tickets. So U.S. Soccer is desperate to sell the tickets, right? We have 50% capacity. Come on, guys, we need to sell more. $41, the cheapest ticket to get in on the day of the game. So who's gonna pay $41? I'm certainly not paying $41 for a friendly game. You know?
No.
It's utterly ridiculous. Yeah, and the thing that pisses me off is that we had BJ Callahan, and we've seen him do well. At the very least, give him a chance. Like, if there is any, after all that happened with the leak, with the leak after the World Cup about Reina and about the past, controversy and I don't know, abuse, quote unquote, which turned out to be nothing. But after all of this, and after all we've seen from Gregg and how he treats his players, there's plenty of other stories we don't really have the time to go into. But after all of this, even if he is the only option, even if there's nobody else in the world that you can hire, you still don't hire him. Even if we leave Anthony Hudson there, the previous Colorado Rapids manager, even if he manages it, it's better. Like, at least it's someone else that will get some excitement going. BJ Callahan played really good football played a system that got the best out of every player. And then we bring Gregg Berhalter back, and obviously everybody's pissed off and doesn't want to watch the team.
Yeah.
Obviously. They have no clue how PR works. It's crazy.
This new sporting director
utterly
sounds
crazy.
Brilliant.
What's that?
This new sporting director sounds brilliant. It sounds like he went looking for a manager, hasn't even looked down the back of the sofa, and has got.
Supposedly they went through like 3 rounds of interviews and like a mental test and stuff, and Gregg Berhalter won out of everyone that's interviewed.
A mental test?
Which is a lie. There's no way this happened.
Maybe it wasn't meant like a mental test as in like an IQ test. Maybe it was actually just mental what they done. It was like can you spin plates? Gregg was great at spinning the plates and counting backwards from 100. No one else done it as well as him.
100, 99, 98, 97.
Well, it should have just went for Klinsmann.
Oh, yeah, maybe. Well, that brings a very depressing episode to an end.
I don't know why Harry doesn't like the international break.
I have no idea.
It absolutely boggles the mind.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he literally texted us going, what was it? I don't remember exactly, but I chose not to watch the English national team.
Yeah, it was an active choice from him. I was busy, but I did watch the highlights and half the game. Harry
refused to watch
like a true patriot, George.
a second of England. He said refused to watch a second of England.
Quote unquote England.
Yeah.
Quote unquote England.
That cracked me up. Yeah, but hey, the US play today as the episode goes out the Tuesday against Oman, also a friendly. I don't remember exactly where.
From the lose.
Yeah, I guess so.
Oh man.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I watched that either.
That deserved better. That was alright.
Anyway, I'm just sad. Yeah, we'll end things now. Have a lovely rest of your day, week. We'll see you next week. Subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for all the subscriptions that have been coming through recently, and the views on the shorter format videos. They've been going well, but this is the main event on Tuesdays, so be there. All right, ring the notification bell. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Spotify, Apple. Well, that's asking a lot. Just follow us on wherever you prefer.
Yeah. Just one.
Or everything. And we'll give you a cookie.
We're so bad at stuff, but yeah,
I know, man.
Actually, you know what? That's a bit much.
You do whatever you want.
We know our place. Just if you see something, click on it. Yeah.
If you see something saying just another Football Podcast, just click on it. There's like a YouTube channel that was from the days when Rob Turner has like 16 subscribers. It has a brown, old-looking logo. Click on that too. Who knows? Have a lovely rest of your week. See you later, everyone. Goodbye.